What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corie Murray. We're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about finance. And you know we're talking about business.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
Who do you have for our Black Men Sunday spotlight, my brother?
Black Men Sunday is about information, empowerment. So I'm just trying to lay some facts on you. If you haven't heard, I'm going to let you be the first. This past Tuesday, the 82nd anniversary of Emmett Till's birth, President Joe Biden is going to sign a proclamation establishing the Emmett Till and Mammy Till Mobley National Monument in Illinois and Mississippi. Now, this new monument will protect and uplift the spaces that tell the story of Till's abbreviated life and racially motivated murder, and the unjust acquittal of his murderers and the activism of his mother, Mammy Till Mobley, who courageously brought the world's attention to the brutal injustices and racism of that time. Now, this monument will be located at 3 separate locations, which will exist. One will be in Illinois and Mississippi, including the Roberts Temple Church of God of Christ in Bronzeville, and which is an historically Black neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, where thousands of people gathered to mourn and bear witness of Till's death in September of 1955. Now, this monument in Mississippi will include Gabriel Landing, believed to be where Till's mutilated body was pulled from the Tallahatchie River. And the third was going to be in Tallahatchie County, the school district courthouse in Summer, Mississippi. Now, this is where Till's murderers were tried by an all-white jury, and of course, they was all acquitted. Now, the destination of these monuments going to reflect the Biden-Harris administration, which is work with, of course, they've been always an advocate for civil rights and committed to protect the places that help tell a more complete story of our nation's history, which this is something that the White House has said. So that's my spotlight for today. If you haven't heard, you've heard it now. Back to you, Corie.
Yeah, that was a good spotlight, man, because I think last week your spotlight was like 10 seconds. I was like, damn, but it was good, though. But I was like, yeah, I need Eric to give us some spotlights. So I appreciate that. That was heavy hitting. Great information, my brother. And how's the weather down in Hunts Vegas, by the way, man?
Man, the weather here is, we're 80, 90 degrees, but we've been getting a lot of rain. A lot of rain. It is actually flooded here the last couple of days. So I know y'all maybe wish y'all was getting this rain. So, but here, everything's great.
Yeah, no, we're not getting the rain. We're just getting that 100-degree plus heat, and my AC went out, so it's rough in here. So you're good looking. Yeah, man, it's hot over here, man, but good looking on that spotlight, my brother. We appreciate that. I'm glad all is well in Hunts Vegas. Grill me some ribs. So I'm gonna have to come through there and do a show. I've been saying it for like the last 10 shows, but I'm gonna have to come to Hunts Vegas, really do a show there and eat some ribs there. So we're gonna have to do that. So I appreciate you, my brother.
I got you.
But now it's time to introduce today's guest. This is a brother to me. This was the best man in my wedding. This brother sent over his financial advisor, gave us a lot of tips. Simon Dogbe out in Aspen. I don't know how many brothers I know out in Aspen, but this brother's out there doing it big. This brother comes to us, every week, I always say this brother has a master's degree in public policy. He does, from George Mason University. This brother also has a Bachelor of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies from Norfolk State University. And this brother also went to North Carolina A&T. I'm big on the Black colleges because I went to FAMU. Eric went to Alabama A&M. But before we even get it going, my man Kelali Dogbe, and also he's a world traveler, and his wife Louise Lennox writes phenomenal books. Welcome to Black Man Sundays, brother. How you doing?
Man, doing great. Yeah, you got me on a different seat now. You know what I'm saying? You got me. I usually be with you asking the questions, so now I'm in the seat. We just up here talking like we used to do back in the day.
Yeah, definitely, man. And let's go on and get started. This show's about generational wealth, finance, and business. When I think of Virginia, You know, a lot of cats think of Missy and I think of you first. I think of generational wealth. I think of your family. I think of coming to your house on Friday nights, just having somewhere to post up coming from a single parent household. So I'm coming out the gates with the generational wealth question, brother. First off, what are you doing with your family to achieve generational wealth? Like, what steps are you taking? And how did being from Ghana and your family background, how did that incorporate and help you with the mindset of generational wealth?
Oh yeah, wow, man. So, let's get into that. So, as you already alluded to, my parents are from Ghana and West Africa. They came over here. Both of them came immigrated to America. To get a better life and to bring a better life for their children. So that's the first point, is that it was always a mission of improvement. Like, there were better opportunities in America than there were in Ghana. And so there was always that mission that our parents instilled in us, like, look, we came over here to get y'all opportunities that we wouldn't have otherwise had. And so y'all need to make the best of that and try to pass that on. And so that's what we've been. And so that's the one point about generational wealth, is that it's kind of like with the immigrant mindset is a little bit different, because that's kind of what the mission is like, look, we're coming from somewhere else to get better opportunities. Now, what you need to do as the next generation, as the kid, is take advantage of those opportunities and push it forward along to your kids. So that's the first point about just building generational wealth.
I definitely. And the second half of that question is, as a married man, two beautiful children, I think you're the first cat outside of NBA cats that I know that say he lives in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I'm like, oh, okay, I see you. I see you. Bowie, Maryland area, just for the cats that's in the know. So how are you establishing generational wealth with your family?
Oh, I mean, it's the same thing. It's just trying to get them the best opportunities as possible, and pushing out and taking advantage of like what we've been blessed to have. So, as you said so many times on the show, I got a master's degree in public policy. I got an advanced degree. My wife has a couple of advanced degrees as well. And so, what we try to do is just open our aperture, open our eyes up, what I'm saying, to all the different opportunities and leveraging the different networks that we have out there. So she's spun off a business. She's now, an author. She's written, I think, over 10 books now already. She started since COVID. So that's another business we started. We're looking to get into real estate. When you got two people who, we have decent paying jobs and things like that, you start looking around and wonder, what should we do with our money, and looking down the road. So for our kids, it's right now, I got a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. It's about education. It's about education, making sure that they have the best education possible, because as they get better education, that's going to open up better opportunities for them. What people don't know is that, like, the quality of education you get oftentimes determines like what you're going to be like in the future. So I know, I'm always, every time I come on the show, I'm always a proponent of advanced education. So it's like, the more advanced education you got, the more things that you can do in terms of like being a leader, like running a business, like being in government, or being somewhere where you could actually run an organization that can do things. Like, those things come with education. Like, there's some people who can hustle and definitely have that talent for hustling and can do it, what I'm saying, without the education. But a lot of times when you get to them high levels of education, especially when we talk about college, we're talking about like Ivy League, you look at the Ivy League folks, they're the folks that's running everything. Like, every time you look at every president, they from the Ivy League. You look at all the senators from the Ivy League, journalists, different people like that, they're from the Ivy League. So they're the ones that are really the ones who are determining like how we live and how we work and things like that. So the main thing, passing on to our kids, is trying to make sure that they get the best education that they can. Like you said, we used to live in Upper Marlboro, and we actually moved. That's Prince George County. In Maryland. And we actually moved to Calvert County, Maryland, because they got better schools in Calvert County, Maryland. And so one of the things we wanted to do is make sure that our kids get the best quality education. And then we're blessed enough to be able to support their education with other things. Like we pay for tutors for the kids and different things like that. So that's the main thing right now at this stage for them, is education, and then money attainment in terms of trying to save a little bit for down the road for when they do got to go to school, and we can support that.
Oh, great information. I'm loving this conversation, man. So just to build upon that, I speak to a lot of brothers every week and they say, listen, man, bills is high with the inflation. I just bought a house. I done paid like $500,000, paying 7%. I don't really have any money to establish generational wealth for my family. So what advice would you give to brothers that say, listen, I'm paycheck to paycheck. I don't really have, me or the wife don't have the residual income to establish wealth. What tips can you give those brothers?
Well, first of all, so you talked about my cousin Simon. He put me on. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the first thing. Put yourself around some people who either know more than you or are on the same level than you, are like-minded with you and trying to grow the same way you're growing. Like, that's one thing you got to do, because again, it's about networking. There's a lot of people out here who are successful, who know things that you don't know, and are willing to share that information with you. That's why we do Black Men Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, we try to bring the information to people who might not have access to people around them who can access that information. So it's the same thing for us. It's like, for me at my level, in my everyday life, I'm always connecting with people who got more information than I do, or are like-minded and are looking to access the same information, and then we compare notes. So as you said, my cousin Simon is a financial advisor, and he actually put me on a question that he asked me from the get-go. He was like, well, what's your biggest asset? You know what I mean? What's your biggest asset? So me and my wife, when we were asked that question, we were like, well, the house is. So you just talked about somebody who bought, whatever they bought, $400,000, $500,000 house, whatever it is. That's usually your quickest thing, is to be like, well, my biggest asset is my house. But he actually put me on. He was like, no, your biggest asset is you, because you have unlimited earning potential. So what you got to do is you have to assess, what are you doing now? What skills do you bring to the table? And how can you monetize those skills to bring in extra income? So for instance, as I was talking about my wife, she's always been interested in writing. So over COVID, she had some free time. She got interested. She always wanted to write. She got interested in writing romance novels, and so that's what she does as a business on the side to bring in extra income. You know what I mean? Because of this show, because of us doing this show, one of the things that I'm looking at really hard is going to actually get my real estate license and starting out and working in real estate and doing some different things with that. So it's really about understanding what your skill set are, not what your job is, but what is your skill set? You know what I'm saying? What are the things that you can actually do out here, and how can you monetize those things to bring in even more money than you're earning? And that's one way that you can start to have some disposable income in terms of being able to, establish some generational wealth. And then, again, lessons that we learn from this show, right? You take whatever little dollar you got, you try to figure out how to make that dollar work for you, as opposed to you working for the dollar. One of the things I got from this show was just like, it just hit me like kind of like an epiphany. Was like, okay, so every dollar you got is like a little soldier that's supposed to be working for you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out how to make that soldier work. And if you're not figuring out how to make that soldier work, then that soldier is just basically a drag on your income, or it's going to get sucked up in some other frivolous thing that you want to do. So those are the things that, like I said, I learned a lot of that just from being on the show.
Yeah, definitely, man. You quoting Quan was talking about them little soldiers working for him,
yeah,
man.
yeah, man. Yeah. Like that was one thing that stuck with me, because it was real. Because like even when we sold our house, we had a lump sum of money that came in, and it was like, okay, cool, we can furnish the house that we're moving in now. We got a little bit of money. We had a little bit of money to sit on. But I started noticing over time that money started getting soaked up. It got soaked up in taxes. It got soaked up in just other random expenses, because we didn't actually have a what I call a proactive financial strategy for what we were going to do with that money. So if your money is like little soldiers that's working for you, well, soldiers require maintenance. So if you just throw it in the bank, consider inflation like maintenance. If you're not covering the cost of inflation, you're paying maintenance you're paying maintenance in the form of inflation. So if your money's just sitting in a savings account, right, in the next few years, that money is not worth what it was worth, even if you don't spend any of it. You know what I'm saying? That's the cost of maintaining those soldiers. You know what I mean? So it's like, instead, find something to do with those soldiers to where they working for you and they bringing more soldiers back, or they bringing more money back. You know what I'm saying? So it's growing. So that was a, like I said, you can take it from me. That was a lesson I learned the hard way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to build back up, and I mean, we still, like I said, me and my wife are like extremely blessed. So we still, my wife is always figuring out ways to make money. I got a pretty decent job, so we not really hurting in that department.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of leads to my next question. It's almost the opposite of the last question for the brothers and sisters that, the husband and the wife both making good money, the bills paid, they have some residual income. But, a lot of times, especially for the early 20s, couples that get married, they have this extra income. They almost are like, it's like a hot pocket in your hand. Should I spend this? Should I get a Birkin bag? Should I do this? So what advice would you give like a newly married couple? Both of the husband and wife both make good money, have great careers, but at the end, when they pay their bills, they have such residual income. What would you recommend that they do with it early on?
Well, so let's take a step back. So what I'm about to say might be considered a little controversial because you can't really prescribe general ideas for for families, right? Every relationship is different, just like every person is different, right? But one of the things that I would recommend, so these are some recommendations. One of the things that I would recommend is first starting out, figure it out. There's going to be some long nights. It's going to be some hard work. It's going to be some hard conversations to be had, but figure out how you can bring your money together. And the reason that I'm saying that is because I've noticed it, and like I said, this is not a knock at all. But I've noticed that people tend to want to manage their money separately, even when they're married. So you got your money over here, you pay these certain bills over here. Your partner got this money over there, they pay these certain bills over there, and y'all are kind of doing it like that on a piecemeal way. And what I would say is figure out a way strategically to bring your money together as much as possible. And the reason for that is, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I gotta talk about that. Coming from a Christian background, when you married, you're together as one. So that means everything is one. That means all the resources and income and everything you bring in is supposed to be one. And so that's just the principle. But to me, the practical part behind it is, how can you build a strategy as one unit, but you got two separate sources of income with two separate ideas about how you want to manage and use that? So the idea is to you got two superpowers, right? You bring them together, you merge them, you integrate them, and then you bring it under one mission. And then when you do that, what they always say, two heads are better than one. Well, two heads are better than one when it comes to everything. So now you can get together and the two of you can touch and agree on what strategically you should be able to be doing with your money. So you can create together a long-term plan, considering all the resources you have at your disposal. You see what I'm saying? Like for me, if I just do it for me, I can create a strategy for myself about how I want to do things long-term, right? But that's not including what my wife. So my wife might have some different ideas about, we talked about some real heady ideas on this podcast, right? About like, self-actualization, what freedom means to you, what generational wealth means to you. Well, I got some ideas about that, but my wife might have some different ideas about that. So if we don't get together and get on the same page, then we got money going in two different directions. You know what I'm saying? And I can say a bunch of quotes, we talked about, if you want to go to the Bible, they say a two-headed person doesn't advance. You want to talk about politics, they say a house divided against itself cannot stand. If you got two different ways that you're going, it's going to be very hard for you to make that generational wealth progress that you think you're going to do. And so what I've found is you could even, I'm not a financial advisor, but I've talked to a couple, and a lot of times what they're doing, especially with couples in the beginning, is trying to figure out what they think their overall idea of self-actualization or their idea of economic freedom is, and how can they bring those two things together. So that's the first recommendation I have for a young couple is sit down, have some hard conversations about what y'all think economic freedom is and how y'all can get under the same vision, and what steps y'all can take to get so that both of you can get exactly what y'all want out of the situation.
Oh man, great information. Wow, great information, man. And another thing that I love about you and your wife, man, every summer y'all travel. Sometimes y'all come here to Orlando, Y'all go overseas a lot. So that's why I want to jump in now. You know, we've had brothers and sisters from Medellin came on the show. You know, you and the wife went down and I saw y'all had a wedding down in Medellin. Y'all was all over Colombia. Y'all was in like Cartagena and all. I hope I'm, from the hood. I want to say Cartagena, but I know I'm trying to be
Yeah,
professional. Cartagena.
yeah,
So
yeah.
my question to you, jumping back in it is like I said, you guys are both well traveled. You guys probably have more passport points than a lot of celebrities, man. Y'all be out here doing it. But for families out here that say, listen, we see you guys as Facebook. We basically, we living vicariously through y'all summer trip. So, from a financial perspective, how are you guys, I know the money's nice, but I'm just saying, like, from a strategic planning perspective, for couples out there, for families out there that say, we want to do some traveling too. Like, what type of money are y'all saving throughout the year? Are y'all in like travel clubs? Like, hook us up, man.
Yeah, definitely. Like, shoot, yeah, I should have brought my wife on.
She
Because
around. Hey, tell her pull up. She right around.
nah, see, I gotta go upstairs and go get her. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll do another one where we both get on or something. I don't know, but oh, the other thing is, you my bro. You can come on these trips too. But the thing is, I got to give her credit, man. She always had the travel bug even before we got together, and that's always been like, again, we talk about like ideas of economic freedom. That's always been one of her high priorities is I want to travel. Like, so what we tried to do, and like, I'm not trying to act like it's been easy, you know what I'm saying? Like, what we've tried to do is we tried to incorporate that into our planning as much as possible. Early on in our marriage, it was a little bit more difficult because, again, like I just said, we had two different ideas of what we were trying to do. She was like, I'm trying to travel. And I'm like, well, look, I'm trying to get rid of some of this debt we got. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are we going to balance this? So, at first it was kind of like she always had extra money and stuff like that. So she would be like, well, I'm putting the extra money on this trip and you could worry about the rest of the money and how you going to figure out the debt. You know what I'm saying? Here lately, we've been able to get on the same page. And so now as part of our budgetary plan, it's like, boom, boom, okay, we'll take this certain amount of money and we know we want to do this trip. So we'll put this money aside to do this trip. She's part of a couple of trip clubs. It's called, so I think on Facebook, it's called the No Madness group, which is one of them. This is just like worldly Black folks, really, that, you know what I'm saying, that travel to different places in the world. So every year they're always going places. They're always going to different places. And so if we want to hook up with them, we can hook up with them and we can find out where is the next hot place to travel, and we'll go out there. Like I said, my wife has been traveling so long now, she has spots that she already knows that she wants to go to. And then we put our friends on. Like I said, you want to come on a trip? We have a group trip. We have a group trip with just like our fam and friends every year that we do. You know what I'm saying? So we just make sure that we put the plan ahead. We put the plan out. We try to put it out at least a year in advance, so everybody has at least a year to get it done. And then we just put money to the side and pay towards those trips. And our whole group does it. You know what I'm saying? So everybody does it. But the main part about it is you have to make traveling a priority. If you don't make it a priority, it's just not going to happen. Like, and so why should we make traveling a priority? Well, if we're talking about Black folks, as Black people, we should make traveling a priority because we're not just Black Americans. And I'm going to speak, obviously I'm biased, right? Because my parents are from Ghana, but we're not just Black Americans. We're part of an entire diaspora. We're part of the African diaspora. And we need to understand that everywhere we go, you know what I'm saying, in the world, people are, what African people are going through, what they live like, how they live. And when you travel, it opens up your perspective so wide. Like, you and I know, we know people from the hood who haven't ever left the neighborhood. They ain't left the block that they live on. You know what I'm saying? So your life and your experiences are only as big as what you can imagine in your mind. So if you've never left your block, your whole world is that block. But the world is a big place. You see what I'm saying? Like, just in the next block, in the next city, they could be living a whole different way. So you thinking that life is this kind of way that's on your block? No, it's there's so many different ways that people can live. And so for me, that's part of people figuring out how to be free, understand the wide variety of ways that you can live, the wide variety of values people have and where they live and how they live and the different things they do and the different things you got access to. I'll just say it in my own experience, like being able to go since I've been either dating or married. I've been this will be 7 years coming up in December that we've been married. In the time that we've been dating over the last either dating or married over the last 10 years, like we've been in so many places. We went to Dubai, we went to Canada, we went to Mexico, we just came from Colombia. We've been a whole bunch of different places, and it just opens your eyes up to like how everybody lives, the things people go through, what options are available to you in terms of places you can live and do different things. Now, well, we could talk about it, like you said, we had folks from Colombia, so we could talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I definitely went out to Cartagena, which was awesome. You know what I'm saying? What I would recommend going out there is there's a tour company that does a tour called the Real Cartagena Tour. And it's a Black-owned tour. And what they do is they show you like what the reality of just living in Cartagena is for Black folks. So we went out, so we did that tour, and that tour was awesome because we got to see, first of all, they taught us about the 6 levels of economic classes that are in Cartagena. So, the level 6 is the high upper classes, level 1 is the lower classes. So we went from the highest class areas in Cartagena to the lowest class areas in Cartagena, and got to experience like I don't know if you saw on Facebook when we did the little salsa lessons. That was in the middle of the hood. That was in the park right in the middle of the hood. You know what I'm saying? What would be considered a level 1 area. So it was interesting to see, interesting and in some ways disheartening, right, to see that the oppression that Black people face is all over. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's still attached to, even in Colombia, it's still attached to color. You see what I'm saying? And people don't say that. The reason we don't experience it is because when we get to Cartagena, we not Black, we're American. And that's different. So when you travel and you got that blue passport, for those who don't know, for those who don't travel, when you get a passport to travel to another country, the American passport is blue. Every country got a different passport. The American passport is blue. A different color passport. The American passport is blue. When you pull out that blue passport, you are an American. It don't matter what color you are. You know what I'm saying? And that comes with certain privileges. You get certain privilege. You get treated a certain way. You get treated like you're upper class. You get treated like you're rich. You get treated. And so a lot of people get intoxicated by that. But what I would challenge people to do is to also understand the social and economic situations of the people who actually live there and see if there's some opportunities where we can network and help, because we have access to wealth over here that they don't have, that we could help to pull the diaspora up. So that was a long answer, but
Nah, that was a great answer. And you kind of helped me transition to the next question because, yeah, as you said on this show, I know guys from East New York, Brooklyn, never been to Times Square. I know guys in Virginia and Hampton, never been to Virginia Beach. I mean, look at me. I've never been off I done been to LA, Houston. I've never been off US soil. So,
right.
when we talk about, being African American, when we talk about our diaspora, how important is it for us to get off the block, if you will?
Man, I can't even put into words how important it is for all of us to get off the block, because it's about knowledge. The reason that we don't take advantage of some of these things that's out there, or we don't understand who we are in certain ways, is that we're just ignorant of it. And what I don't mean that like an insult. I mean, we just don't have the knowledge. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? In the Bible, it says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Like, that's why you stay in poverty. You see what I'm saying? That's why you stay with a negative or a deficit mindset, is because you don't know. You see what I'm saying? You don't know what's out there for you. You don't know, again, you don't know how people live. You don't know how you can connect. If you don't like where you are, move to somewhere else. Like, even if it's just in the States. Like, one of the reasons I came, we started out in Southern Virginia, in Hampton, Virginia. when I went to I went to A&T for 4 years for college, came back. I actually got my degree from Norfolk State University, got my bachelor's degree from Norfolk State University, and I was just out in this what we call the seven cities, you know what I'm saying? Trying to make it out there. And what I noticed out there is that there wasn't that many jobs out there. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't really get the standard of living that I was looking for with the opportunities that were in Hampton. So that's one of the reasons why I say, you know what, I need to get another degree, because that's going to add another piece of earning potential for me. You see what I'm saying? So I got another degree, and where do I need to get it? Where I need to get it, I'm gonna go to Northern Virginia, where they got more opportunities. So if you don't like what's going on in your environment, change your environment. You see what I'm saying? Like, sometimes a simple change of your environment will do so much for you in terms of like giving you opportunities. So you got to get off that block. You got to leave the block. Leave the block. You know what I'm saying? Just go to another city. You know what I'm saying? Go to another state, see how they do out there. See if you can turn over a new leaf out there. Like, if things aren't going for right, it's negative, too many people out there, go to another state. But a lot of people are afraid. And so I would just say, don't be afraid. Go to another state, go to another city, go somewhere and get a different experience. And then when you get to a certain point, start looking at going to another country just to visit. I don't say you got to live it, because I still ain't seen a place that I want to live more than America. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? But go to another place, see how other values are. It might be a place out there that jives with you better than even living in America. So, there's so many opportunities out here in the world for you to just contain yourself to like one block.
Great information, man. Let's go back, man. We started off in Cartagena, but I noticed, you guys ended up in Medellin. We've had like 3 guests from Medellin that live in Medellin, but they're from St. Louis on the show. So when you first, obviously you've been on Black Men Sunday, so you heard what they were saying. So they kind of got rid of his black people out there, his money out there. But when you got to Medellin, what was that experience like for you and your family?
Man, well, first of all, it was just me and my wife that went out there. I didn't take the kids out for this trip, but it was so it's interesting, right? Like coming Cartagena and Medellin are totally different, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So Cartagena is like, it reminded me of like not as advanced Miami. Like it's kind of like it's a beach city, you know what I'm saying? And it's a resort city, whereas Medellin is like an advanced city. Like it's like New York, except if New York was like in the mountains and the jungle. Like the views was, I can't explain it to you. You got to really go. It's a beautiful city. Like the views were incredible. Like you get there, you get to Medellin and you're in the middle of the city, but you look off into the distance and there's a huge mountain range out there. And it's trees growing, you know what I'm saying? They keep their greenery, so it's trees growing in between the buildings and all of that. But it's the city though, you know what I'm saying? So it's much more upscale. Definitely, that's definitely where the more successful people are going to be, is going to be in Medellin, man. And it was an awesome experience out there. Obviously, we went out there for a wedding. We had an awesome time. We did get a chance to go to, we went on a tour. We went on like, what's called, I think it's called Comuna 13. We went out there. Comuna 13 is actually where Pablo Escobar came from. So we got a chance to go out there and see what it was like out there. And get a piece of the culture out there, and the culture out there is awesome. But it's like stuff that we're familiar with, because it's black, it's hip hop, it's, you know what I'm saying, they're out there dancing, they break dancing out there, they got graffiti on the walls, like that's just how they roll out there, you know what I'm saying? And so it was awesome to get a chance to experience that culture. They got what they got escalators actually built into the mountains. So I'm gonna try to give you a piece of history. I hope I don't get it wrong, but when they started out, they had, it's still a big distribution center for drugs, right? Medellin it's like a huge distribution center for drugs, for cocaine. But the history of that is that they used to get the cocaine from like the mountains, and they used to bring it in to this neighborhood, Comuna 13. And so what happened was, like, the organizations that was trying to deal with drugs, they took over this one this one neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, outside of the regulation of the government. So when they took it over outside of the regulation of the government, you know, they were just kind of running the city. And so they built the city out of whatever they could, you know, find, and they built the houses and everything. So they built them into the mountains. So like it's like houses built on top of each other, like they stacked on top of each other. So when they finally was able to clear, you know, all the gangsters out, and there's a whole crazy story of you know, of how they had to do that. But when they were finally able to clear all the gangsters out, what they did was they built escalators into the mountains so people would have an easier time getting to their houses. Because, you know, you got some older people having to, you know, walk up like 90 steps to get to their house. So they built escalators so people could get to their house in the mountains, into the mountains. They built, imagine escalators inside the mountains to, you know what I'm saying? It's so crazy. So that became a tourist attraction. And that's actually what made that particular neighborhood really pop for people. So now people go out there to see the escalators, to hear the stories, to understand the history, and it's just awesome. And there's also, you know, like I said, we could go into it, but there's also a racial component to that as well. So it's like, it's just good to go out and just like learn about different things different people are doing. That was really interesting to me, just how they were able to innovate to help people get to their houses and stuff like that. So yeah, man.
Oh, that was awesome, man. Yeah, because I was gonna say earlier, y'all went to Italy, and it was funny because I see y'all in Italy, then now I'm seeing all the celebrities in Italy now. I'm like, oh, my man already did that. But I kind of want to, since you have the Ghanaian roots, I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because I've heard when a lot of brothers that's never been to the motherland, never been to Africa, they say Ghana's like Miami and Nigeria is like New York. So I'm just saying for you, as parents from Ghana, you know what I'm saying? And like, cause I remember as a kid, y'all would just disappear. I'm like, yo, where you was at? You was like, oh man, I went to Ghana. Like you always said, your parents always y'all like every X amount of years, y'all would always go over there. So I'm saying let's talk about that a little bit. Cause like I said, I'm a brother. I've never been off the soil. There's a lot of brothers that feel like haven't been off the soil too. So I'm just saying, like, give us some Ghanaian love while we on here, man. This is
Yeah,
Black
sure.
Man Sunday. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm looking away. I'm trying to see this. There's this one spot but just before I talk about Ghana, there's this one spot in Colombia, and I'm so mad right now. I can't remember the name, but like we went out there, and they still live out there. It's out in Cartagena. They still live out there. Like the African immigrants that came, because African immigrants came to Colombia, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it's like Afro Latino, you know what I'm saying? And I'm mad I can't remember the name right now, but there's this village out there that they still live like the old traditional ways, like the old traditional African ways. So we got a chance to go out there and check that out. So it's like, again, understanding that Africa, I guess this is bringing it full circle, right? Understanding that Africa is the motherland, and that a lot of the things that we do, as whether you be, Afro Latino, or you be, saying a Black American, or whatever you be, a lot of the traditions and different things you do still come from Africa. You know what I'm saying? You still got that cultural connection. So yeah, but talking about Ghana, yeah, I mean, so like Ghana, like, yeah, you go to Accra. People say that because, yeah, if you go to Accra, which is the capital city of Ghana, like, man, the beaches is incredible. Like, if you go to the beach, like, got the white sand and all that, you know what I'm saying? So I guess that's why they call it like the Miami of Ghana, or some people call it that. So because you have, like, in terms of the resort feel, you have the clubs, you got the the nightlife is popping a little bit, and then you got the beaches there. You know what I'm saying? I've never actually been to Nigeria. I've never been to Lagos, but Lagos is like, it's like the most populous city. So Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is the capital of Nigeria. Lagos is like the most populous city in the world. People don't even know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got like the most people per capita, you know what I'm saying, or per square mile in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a huge city, lots of people, lots of hustle and bustle, things you can get into, you know what I mean? out in Lagos. So that's I think that's probably why they call it the New York, because it's like that. It's you got to get your hustle on out there.
I have a friend of mine, and I'm listening to everything you're talking about, Africa and everything. One thing I will really open my eyes. I have a homeboy who I grew up with. I mean, we've been friends. We're still friends to this day. We've been friends since the third grade.
Right.
He recently moved to Africa. Actually, he moved to Cape Town in
Okay,
Africa.
South Africa. Okay.
South Africa, yeah. And he first told me about Africa, of course, growing up, we would see, we was wondering like, why would you want to go to Africa? Well, actually his job sent him there.
Mhm.
And he was telling me about, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And he was telling me how beautiful the place is. And because of the images that we would see, the first thing you hear of Africa, the first thing you would see is the commercials of poorness, poverty. You see people starving and famine and everything. And that's the first impression we as Black people get when we see. I mean, not just Black people, anybody get when you
Right.
see that, because it's always these help the world, and that's the first thing you see. They starving, dying, a bunch of flies and stuff. Just the poverty side. And he was telling me, man, no, man, it's not like that. It's just like here in the United States. I can show you some poor places in the United States that look bad. And immediately you would think that, that's what the United States is like. Because when he was there at the time, this is when, when we had the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, was very heavily, and a lot of police brutality was going on. And they was asking him, like, why would you want to live in America where they treat Black people so poorly? Because that's what they see, because the whole world was seeing this stuff. And he really opened my eyes with a lot, because he would send me pictures about the beaches, and he said, man, we got malls, we got this. It's just like being in America, man, but it's just different. The vibe is different. And it really opened my eyes that I wanted to visit there. And something else he was sharing with me about how big, a lot of people don't know how big the continent of Africa really is. Because in Africa, you can fit the United States, you can fit China, you can fit the Soviet Union. You can fit maybe 7, 8 countries inside the continent of Africa. And I also met someone who was from Ghana, and they was telling me they live, I'm just saying, how far is Ghana from Cape Town? And they said, well, it's on the west side of the continent of Africa. So I was like, wow, just showed me on the map where it was, everything. Like, man, that is impressive. And they made me want to go just to see that and, experience that. Because I know that's, I think everyone should want to go there just to see what it's like, And there's something interesting I noticed you was telling me about, that all Americans have, because I have a blue passport. Well, this passport, this course is blue. And I didn't know there were different colors for passports. I thought it was a passport with a passport. So that's
that blue passport. I think there are other countries with blue passports, but they're generally different colors. You know what I mean? And like that blue passport, it carries a certain status.
When you
go overseas, and I think one of the things that, like, a lot of Black people, when they go overseas and they get certain experiences, that's what makes them feel like at home in other countries, is because they got that blue passport, and it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to be treated like 100% equal. You know what I mean? like because now because again, like I said, now it's not, yeah, you're American, but you're Black. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go over there, it's like, no, you're an American, and they give you like service like you're an American, like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like your color doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So because they can tell, right? They can tell that you're American from the way you dress, the way you walk, talk. They can tell that you're American. But yeah, what I would say about that is that, and this is something that I do believe is like one of my purposes in life, is like trying to bridge the gap between African, what I would say for the purposes of this conversation, Black Americans and Africans, or Black people in the diaspora, because by design, by systemic design, we've been taught to be divided from each other. And so because of that, we on both sides, we've been fed negative information about each other. So on the one hand, if you're a Black American, right, you've been taught that Africa is a poor place, but you've not been taught the history. You've not been taught the history as to why maybe since the 1950s that certain countries in Africa haven't developed economically. You know what I mean? Right. It's a whole deep history of what they're doing in terms of global trade, in terms of resources and different things like that. on the other hand, what we don't know living in America, right, is that Africans also get negative images of Black Americans. So they get the quote unquote hip hop images. You know what I'm saying? They get, oh, Black people, because you got to understand, like, America, to everybody else in the world, America seems like paradise. Like, everybody feel like other people, other places in the world, you see this as you travel more, other people, other places in the world look at America like everybody in America is rich. Like, everybody is rich. Everybody in America is rich. Like, that's the idea. So imagine.
And it's trash.
Huh?
And it's trash because of healthcare and civil liberties that we don't have, you know, how segregated it really is.
Right. We don't take care of our people as well as people would imagine that we do. Right. So there's that part of it, right? So imagine if you're sitting in your country and you're like, wow, America's paradise. But then there's this group of people, Black people, who's always been portrayed as like thugs or always being portrayed as the ones doing crime. Why are you doing crime in paradise? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's going through their minds. So when they come over here as immigrants, you know what I'm saying, and then we interact, like historically we've interacted, right? Then sometimes there can be tension and conflict there, right? Because as a Black American, we might be coming over and saying, oh, you know what I'm saying? You coming from this poor country, you know what I'm saying? You ain't, I don't even associate with you as a Black person. You know what I'm saying? Because you just some poor person from another country, right? You don't even speak English. You know what I'm saying? But they looking at you now. If we're giving off that energy as Americans, now an African might look at us and say, well, hey, I don't really want to. First of all, now you insulted me. Second of all, now I don't even want to associate with you because all I've ever heard about you and your people is how y'all are thugs and how y'all do crime and da 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 da. So so again, for a reason, purposely, as people we've been separated. And I've experienced that on both sides where, you know, I talk to my brothers in America and they got a certain opinion about Africans. And I talk to my brothers in Africa, my family members, you know what I mean? I got cousins and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, yo, they da 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 da, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and on both sides, I'm always like, let's just get together, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we all the same people. And it's so like, it becomes like, if you just go to Africa, you know what I'm saying? Like most of us came from West Africa, but I would recommend going anywhere in Africa. If you just go to Africa, you will see that we are the same people. Like, you'll go to Africa and see somebody who look just like you, or you'll see somebody who look just like your uncle, or somebody who looks just like your cousin, and you're like, oh, they the same people, and we do the same things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know, it's funny you say that, because when I lived in Florida, it was the same way. Me coming to Florida and met with people who were from Haiti and you know, South Africans and things of that sort, and you know, they look just like us. Or you look just like us, but until you speak, and that's where the accent comes in. So, oh, I love that accent. Where are you from? And you say, oh, I'm originally from Haiti. I'm from here, from there. And I was amazed, like, you know, like, wow, because that was like a big kind of a culture shock for me, because Florida was the only state, other than Alabama, that's the only state I actually lived in. They didn't live the time to. I mean, I visited other states, but I never lived and actually got a chance to spend some time there. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and it's like, and like I said, just the more you travel, the more you see it. Like I said, we went to Colombia, you know, and we got a chance to interact with you know, like I said, the Afro-Colombians there. They a lot of their stuff is like African traditional stuff. And then now they're taking on, you know, Black American culture. Like I said, they break dancing and doing graffiti out there. Then we got a chance to go out. The name of the village I wanted to talk about out in Cartagena is called Palenque. So it's the Palenque village. We got a chance to go out there and actually see how they're still living like Africans there. And they embrace the same thing. They're like, we're all part of the diaspora. We're all the same people. The only difference is when slavery occurred, some of us avoided the slavery. Some of us got dropped off in Haiti or the Dominican Republic. Some of us got dropped off in Puerto Rico. Some of us got dropped off in South America. And of course, some of us got dropped off in North America. So that's the only difference. Is over the time period is we've been in contact with these other different cultures. And so that's what makes us different. But as a people, as Black people, we're not different.
We're not doing all the same.
And the way, right, and the way you can understand and know that, getting to the point we've been talking about is traveling the world. But that's the thing that, again, by design, we don't necessarily get the opportunity to do, right? Because if we travel the world and we see that we are the same, then we can start leveraging and pooling resources in a way that we probably haven't done before. And that's something, that's something that could become something that's a real formidable thing for us in terms of generational wealth and economic freedom.
First off, my man Kelali, man, you in the hot seat today. How's it feel, man? You enjoying yourself on Black Men Sundays?
Man,
I mean, you hear every show, but I mean, how's it feel on the other side though?
Right. Nah, man, I love Black Men Sunday, man. This has become like one of the highlights of my week, man. I'm glad that you had the idea to start this, and I'm glad we continuing on with it, man, because it's just like I said, we get a chance every week to talk to like awesome people, you know what I'm saying? Share this knowledge. Hopefully we're getting the knowledge out to, a lot of people who could really use it. I think it's one of the ways that we're, as Black men working to give back to our communities as people who have made it to a certain level, not to say like we better than anybody else, but if I've got access to certain amounts of information, then I can have a way to put it out to people that don't have access to that information. Yeah, let's get that done, man. So man, every week I enjoy it. I love Black Men Sunday, man, for real.
So my man Kelali Dogbe, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. You've been here. We're almost 70 episodes deep. You've always been here from day one before we even realized this was going to be a podcast. So I appreciate you. I appreciate, your family showing me love all them years back in the day, man. I appreciate being in your wedding. I appreciate you being the best man of mine. I appreciate you sending me that Fire Dark Caesar album that I think I don't wore the shirt out of. I just appreciate all that, man. And, and many blessings to you, my brother. Peace.
Thank you. Peace.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away.